My name is Linda Tucker. I am the owner of T3 Coffee Co. here in Collinsville, Oklahoma. And we are a local roastery and coffee shop. And so we started as coffee roasters almost 6 years ago. And so with that, we get to supply coffee to other coffee shops all around the state. And then we ship nationwide with our coffee. And then 2 years ago, we got to open up our brick and mortar location. So the building that we're in right now, we spent 2 years working on this space, doing a full historic preservation, restoration, trying to really tell the story of this building, bring it back to life, and create a space that can be life-giving for this community. And so that's kind of what we have now. T3 got started really as a hobby. We never had any intention of opening a coffee shop or sharing coffee, but a number of years ago, my partner Gary got tired of drinking bad coffee, and so he started roasting. He learned how to home roast from a friend. So he has a background in electrical engineering and physics, and took all of his knowledge and built a small little roaster in our kitchen. And so at that time, we would just be able to roast enough coffee to make one pot of coffee. So we would have a pot of coffee at home, or take some beans to work and be able to share coffee with our friends and our coworkers and our family. And then in 20, when our whole world changed, all of a sudden everybody's caffeine intake started going up as everybody was home, not able to get your regular coffee that you would have at the office or at work, things like that. So we started seeing an increase of people asking us for coffee. And then that year we started going to local farmers markets. We really didn't think anybody was going to actually buy our coffee, but we had a product and we just wanted to be part of a community and feel safe. So we took a couple bags of coffee, we set up a table and went out and had a great time. And that's kind of how this whole thing got started. And so we have been growing and going ever since then. I graduated from Phillips with my MDiv in 2019. And it was probably one of the best experiences of my life being at Phillips. I am a United Methodist. And when I started my Phillips journey, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I knew that I didn't want to be a senior pastor and do ministry in a traditional way, but I knew that there was this deep call on my life to get a theological education. And I still remember the first time that I stepped foot on campus for a tour, just a visit. And I remember sitting there in the Commons area talking to Dr. McCallie and felt heard for the very first time and knew that this was a place that I just needed to be. I didn't know why. People would always ask me, why are you going to seminary? And my answer was, that's where I was called to be, and I'll figure it out along the way. And so I absolutely did. While I was at Phillips along the way, I tell you what, I found my voice, and I realized that my calling is to use my voice in the world, that I have a voice and that people are listening to it, and I have a responsibility to speak. So that's one of my biggest takeaways from being at Phillips, and that is one of the things that I get to do here with coffee that allows me to do. So our tagline for our business is local coffee, global impact. So what that means for us is we get to be a local hub for the community, and we get to provide a space to make community happen, and we get to be involved in our community in a number of different ways. When we were building this space, we intentionally did not put in a drive-through because we wanted this to be a space where you would come in, you would hang out with friends, you would have meetings. In business, you talk about what's your target audience, and our audience is anyone and everyone. We have people from, infants and carriers to people that are, 90 years old that are coming in here, of all ages, of all ethnicities, of all walks of life. I always tell people my goal is I want to be the cheers of coffee. And when you come into this space, this is like coming into my home. And so I want you to be completely welcomed no matter who you are. This space is for you. And we've been able to see this space be what it needs to be in the moment for whoever's coming in our doors. And so that's been really cool to be able to watch that and watch that unfold and see how we're able to serve our community in that way. and see how our community has been transformed since we've been here. Prior to putting in T3, there has not been a space like this in Collinsville. So just to see the community accept that and the different ways that this space has been able to be used has just been so much fun to watch. And then the second part of our tagline is global impact. So coffee, if you don't know, is not grown in the United States with the exception of Hawaii. And so we have relationships with coffee farmers all over the world. So all of our coffee that we roast here at T3 is all fully traceable. So we can tell you the names of your coffee farmers and where it was grown and what altitude the coffee was grown at and what the weather looked like that year and how the processes and in the harvesting and in the growing and all of that kind of stuff. And there is a lot of unjust practices that happen globally within coffee. And so we're able to ensure that those practices don't happen with the coffee that we are serving you. All of our farmers are paid fair and living wages for all of the coffee that we get. So they're not only paid a fair wage, but they're paid a living wage above market value to where they can not only support themselves, but their entire communities, that they can give back to their farms and just grow and learn better practices, invest in their families and invest in their communities. Some of the examples of some of our farmers and some of our partnerships, we have a coffee from Nicaragua. And I can tell you the reason that we have a Nicaraguan coffee is because I went on the immersion trip with Dr. McCallie to Nicaragua and learned about just hope and the impact that they're having in their communities. And so from what I learned about that country and that community, I really wanted to bring a Nicaraguan bean into our store. So we have a bean, we partner with an organization called the Winds of Peace. So they are a Christian nonprofit on the ground in Nicaragua. That is our direct relationship between our farmers. So that's a really great coffee we have. We have a coffee called Tres Damas, which is the Three Women. It is grown exclusively by women farmers and supports gender equality in the coffee trade. And so knowing who grew our beans and where they came from and having that traceability and sustainability is something that is really, really important to us. We also get to work with programs like Coffee Kindergarten, which helps prevent child labor in the coffee fields. That's also something that's really prevalent. And then the things that I get to do is I get to go around not only and educate our local community about these practices, but I get to use that platform to speak across the state and really around the world and just educate people on the unjust practices, how we can help, how we can ensure that these practices aren't happening, and really just invest in the lives of these farmers and these communities around the world.